Hello, everybody, and welcome to our District 2, Order 2 Town Hall. How exciting! How exciting is this? And we have some wonderful speakers to assist me in this readout, this update of how things are going. For those that are here, you see the pamphlet in front of you. That it is upside down, that's fine. It does give you information about the agenda, but also some metrics that might be of interest. We'll eventually get to more complete metrics, because if you recall from my Q1 town hall, I had some North Stars. So as we progress in this journey together, you will see those numbers become more magical. For now, you will see them begin. You'll also find in there just some of the updates that you'll also hear about in this presentation. So with that, I just want to say welcome so much for coming. Welcome to this particular town hall. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me today. I would like for John to come up really quickly, and just want to thank him for allowing us to use this wonderful venue.
Thank you. Just wanted to say good evening and welcome to the Boy Scouts of America. We're happy to host this quarterly town hall, and Commissioner Richardson, very excited about everything that you're doing in the community. If you guys need anything, please let me know. There's waters in the back for you, and just really happy to be a part of Post 2. So thank you so much.
Awesome, and stay here with me. Compliments to the Boy Scouts, by the way, for the water. That was not me, so thank you. Would you help me lead a pledge? Everyone rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, so Q2 Town Hall. Yay, we have a lot to cover today. The hashtag, if you're interested in sharing what you learned, or maybe you heard something interesting, hashtag COG-D2Q2. COG-D2Q2. So our agenda for today, as it says in the booklet, we've got the welcome, got some county updates. So I'm going to kind of breeze through this, but give a little bit. Then we're going to go right into updates around the county. After that, we'll have our legislative delegation representative here. I'll give the priorities update as well. And then awards and acknowledgements. So this is new from the Q1 Town Hall. We've added community awards. So you get to hear about some of the things that some of the members of our community are doing. So, around the county, what do we have going on? So some of the big ticket items over the last 3 months. So we've got some additional rental funds in circulation. You may have seen the $5 million, the extra ERP funds that came out. We've got CTP town halls and surveys as well that happened. I think they were pretty successful. We had a pretty decent turnout for District 2, some great questions and some great response on the CTP survey. Not doing questions for the quarterly report, but we do have questions in general at the end. And so, yeah, the surveys were in circulation. From what I heard, there were over 1,000 people that responded out of District 2. So I think that's pretty amazing. So we know that this area is at least well represented when it comes to the analysis being done on that mobility study. With food program assistance, so that also got passed. So you may have heard about several nonprofits that needed additional funds because there is still a need in the community for food. And so that was something that we also appended or added to the resources available. ARP funds did come down from the federal government. It's a lot of money, it's a significant amount of money. And there are ways that we can strategically use it. So one of the open offers I have is to please let me know if you have any ideas around what you think could be a strategic investment for the $147 million that we were awarded as a county. Okay, there are still restrictions. There are limitations for how it can be used, but I do want you to share what you think, and then we'll determine whether or not it's legal. If it is, that's for the legal department. So just be open and honest. And just to let you know, that food program, that also came out of the ARP funds. So it's $1.5 million. Willio Road over Willio Creek, This is something on the DOT side, and I do have our DOT interim director here with us as well. Certainly when we go for questions at the end, you'll be able to ask if you have any questions about that. Same goes for Windy Hill, Terrell Mill Connector, Lower Roswell work. You may have been seeing that in the news as well, so we're here. Residential assessment appeals, that launched May 13th. That was for the tax assessor's office. Sharon Stanley, our support services agency director, that was out of that agency. We've got the call center to help Cobb residents navigate COVID and vaccination needs. That launched. So in the previous quarter, you may have heard that we put money into it. This was actually standing up and it was rolled out. People have been using it, they have been calling. And then 2020, so these are some of the accolades that our teams have received out of the department. So our library team, the 2021 GLA Team Award, we won that. Very exciting. About $1,500 in scholarships were awarded to 4-Hers. That's out of our extension services program. Escape room with parks. This one's a little bit of a treat. So with COVID, going through COVID, all our departments got very creative with how to tackle it, how to keep the community engaged. Parks took it upon themselves to do a lot of programmatic efforts. One of those was an escape room. And our very own, Michael Brantley, he will actually be going and interviewed tomorrow, I believe, tomorrow sometime. Yes, I'm getting a nod back there. But interviewed on just how fantastic that program is. So give it up for Cobb County being leading in that area. And then there's a fishing rodeo July 24th coming up. So this is the District 2 event. So mark your calendars if you're interested in participating, meeting some other people in the community, and just having a good old time. So those are some of the items in the last 3 months directly from county staff. And do note, this is the quarter where we're in holidays as well. So not as full, but certainly just as impactful. Other things to note, budget. Yes, budget proposal. Raise of hands who attended or who watched the presentation at our work session about the budget and the millage rate. Okay, we got a couple, that's good. Our finance department gave a presentation about what came in terms of new revenues, and then also the budget that we have come to some agreement to as a board to look at. So these are just some of the highlights from there. We're looking at a 4.82% increase in total money coming in total revenues. And so the budget is based off of that. We're looking at $496 million at 664,154 on there. And some of the pieces to that budget. So what I want you to know is that there is a general amount that we needed to go up by, the total tax digest to go up by, just to accommodate the pension and the healthcare costs associated with county employees. So what's left over is where we can maybe do something different. So that takes up a significant portion. But what we are happy to say is that there is no millage increase. Okay, no millage increase. And there will be some town halls, so just wanted to read that off. There will be a town hall, so it's a special call session at our next board meeting to make sure that you mark your calendars there. If you have any opinions or thoughts about it, please show up, ask your questions. That is the public hearing for you to do that. This is, as you already know, your money. So please interact with us, and if you don't necessarily feel comfortable going on the public setting, you can always schedule time with me directly and talk to me about any concerns you may have. So the primary things that we're accomplishing with the leftover on the tax digest is addressing public safety recruitment and retention. So these are some compression issues that are in existence. Basically, we were able to fix the recruitment side for public safety. These are for our police officers, firefighters, etc. We were able to improve that, but and recruit more people in. However, when they come in, they're coming in at a salary point that is very similar to those that have been there for a long time. So when you talk about compression, you're talking about making sure that we're compensating fairly for those that have, for tenure to a certain degree, for time served, for time being a part of the county. So the compression component was delayed as a secondary part to address outside of just the recruiting aspect of it. So that goes a lot towards retention, which we want to keep all of our officers. So we really do have to address that. Normal increase in health and pension, as I shared with you, we're good there. That threshold was met, we're good. Personnel additions. So these are some of the additional pieces that we're looking at out of elections department. There's some part-time positions and then 4 full-time positions. So certainly we can discuss those in detail as well on a side chat, but did want to just point out these are some of the highlights. So with that, on to Truist Park. Mike, you're up.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I really don't have an agenda other than, I know Jerica asked me to give a little update on where we are with the battery in Truist Park. Last year, everyone knows, we all had a little challenge in front of us that had an impact on us personally and professionally. I'm happy to say that working with Cobb leadership and the state, we were able to slowly crawl ourselves back to an operation that I think represented an opportunity to still come and enjoy the battery. We played 30 home games with no fans. Needless to say, that was incredibly strange. In a short season, we were 1 game away from making the World Series, which was a great opportunity for us to do something we hadn't done for a while. So on the field of play, our guys with the uniform performed very well. Off the field of play, after we got into the summer months last year, we started to see, obviously with all the policies and protocols we put in place and respecting all of those various rules and regulations, that people started getting comfortable again with what was put in place. And fortunately, the opportunity we created with the mixed-use development, we started to see some life again, and as I said, crawling back. And in the interim, I think a couple of things that we did very successfully was, in addition to being somewhat open and providing that opportunity, we also worked very closely with the Cobb Community Foundation and created a meal program for a lot of families in Cobb. I think when the numbers were all said and done, it was about 3.5 million meals that were in partnership with them and a number of others. Chick-fil-A was a big part of that. We used Truist Park to be able to take care of refrigeration and packing all the meals, distributing the meals, and that program now continues today with them because it was so successful. So I think we did a pretty good job last year continuing to give back to the community. That's just the biggest one, but in a number of other ways as well. So we roll forward to 2021. We're fortunate, again, I've said many times, thank God we live in Georgia. We talked to other clubs around the country that have slowly rolled back, certainly not at the level that we have. We've continued to respect all the various protocols. We've hosted over a dozen vaccination events at Truist Park. But as we stand here today, don't ask me about, renewing Freddie Freeman's contract. So that's not something I'm responsible for, thank God. Our team has really struggled with a lot of injuries. We lost our star, obviously, last week in Miami. I feel confident our guys are coming back here and going to do everything they can to obviously continue to win and get us back into the show. That's probably going to be a little harder than it was last year when you missed a couple pieces, but no one's coming back with that uniform on without that objective in mind. So if I look at the battery and what we've done this year so far and sort of the indicators and the projections we have, we'll put 9 million people in the battery this year. And we're doing it very safely. I see all the officers in the back with Randy and Jeff and the leadership team there. We do that because of the assistance from the Cobb Police and the Sheriff's Office and everyone in public safety. I don't even, we've had a lot of discussions with the chief. No one's putting their head in the sand of kind of what's going on around us. And that's not being naive, it's just being smart. And fortunately, because of those men and women, we're still able to create a really safe, secure environment. And that's why people continue to come in droves. So our restaurants are full, the hotels are full. Never missed a beat. in what we call phase 2. ThyssenKrupp, their team is moving in with over 1,000 employees starting in August. Papa John's headquarters, they're moving in at the end of August, early September. And obviously just continue to bring more and more of those companies here. What that all means, obviously, is just that the impact of the battery in Truist Park and all the projections and look at this in two ways. In 2013, when we announced we were going to move the Braves here and create the mixed-use development, that is now really the envy of everyone in this business around the world. I had 2 teams here last week, one from in the country and one outside the country. And this is where they come, because this is definitely working. Sharon and our group worked together in 2019 to do a fiscal impact report. And the difference between an economic impact, fiscal impact, economic, you're kind of projecting numbers, and a fiscal impact is you have the numbers down to the penny. We know what we generate every year with property tax, sales tax, liquor tax, and other fees that go into Cobb County's general fund and Cobb County School Board. 2 years ago, it was $19 million. We believe that number, once TK and Papa John's come fully on board here, that you're going to see a huge lift in that as well. So, I'm on record saying it, and I'll stand by it because we have the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. That this is the greatest example of public-private partnership you'll find anywhere in this country. And it is working, and you're going to continue to see those numbers work. And I've always said thank you to all the Cobb citizens. I know it was probably difficult for some in the beginning to recognize this, the impact and the contribution that you were making to this. Tim Lee made a choice, and he operated, and the choice was to say, I'm going to trust the Braves, and I'm going to operate like a business and go after return on investment. And that return is going to be, like I said, the greatest you'll ever see in the history of public-private partnership. And I will debate that with anybody, including an individual that continues to just look at numbers differently than we do. But we have the numbers and they don't lie. So again, it's been an interesting ride, and one that we feel good about working together, working with the county leadership, the state leadership, in order to bounce back a lot quicker than anyone ever thought. So continue to look for good things from our organization, and we're going to continue to be great stewards working with the community to use the power we have off the field to play in order to help to, I think, I know it's public knowledge. In a couple of weeks, we have another field renovation we're doing in Marietta, for example. And those are just, many, many different programs we do to make sure we're good stewards and big contributors to the community as well. So I don't know if you want to answer any questions or.
You're welcome to if you want.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I like that you mentioned safety and security, because recently I walked into CVS pharmacy, they had a bunch of circles on the board to go in, cigarettes, there's a cross mark. Number of things, circle and a cross mark. Was over at Whole Foods, and I asked, you got guns in your store? Oh, no, we don't. You go to the front door, and a teeny tiny writing down at your ankle says, no guns allowed. In Georgia, you carry weapons.
Right.
Unless somebody draws a circle, puts a gun in it, draws a line through it. If over your neck of the woods, like the city of Washington, D.C., there were no weapons, do you think that would enhance the security of the people who come to visit? Encourage more people to come to visit. All you have to do is just draw a circle, put a line through it, say this is a no weapons area, and you would be following the law and making people who visit the area more safe and secure.
Well, you'll see if you go over there tonight after this meeting, you'll see all those placards throughout the battery that have those various restrictions, and those include guns.
Whole area?
Yes, you'll see there's, where it's private property, so where you can do that. If it was public property, it becomes obviously a different issue, but it's one of the reasons why we made the entire battery, which again is privately developed with private financing and funds. That's why we're able to do that. But you'll find those over there.
That's exciting. I wish I'd heard about that.
But again,
On the radio, anywhere other than talking.
Yeah, well, thank you. But I want to give credit again to all the men and women in the back room. They provide an incredible level of security and safety and comfort for people coming there. have a huge presence there. And we do that intentionally. We spend 7 figures a year making sure that people feel comfortable there. And that is one of the things that I think separates us from a lot of other places. It's because of those men and women in the back room.
More signs, and have fewer of those.
We do both. We like both. Yeah. Yeah, we like both. All right, I'll take one more. Oh, there aren't any more.
Great job.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. You're free, you're free. So before I go too far, I know we have our next up. It's going to be the CID area, but I would like to give just some acknowledgement to staff that's here. So if you look in the back, they all congregated towards the back. We've got some members from the Sheriff's Office, the Police Department, DOT, Community Development. You all can just wave at everyone, please. Let them know where you are. Thank you all so much for being here. And we also have Dr. Rivera. Thank you for being here as well. All right, so Cumberland Community Improvement District. You're up. Thank you, Adam.
All right. Thank you. My name is Adam Ross. I'm with the Cumberland CID, Community Improvement District. And for those of you who may not know, we leverage our funds to enhance roads, bridges, and key infrastructure projects in the Cumberland community. And I just want to share really quickly 3 projects that we're working on that I'd like to share with you tonight. 3 updates. First project is called the Cumberland Multimodal Path. Now, what is the Cumberland Multimodal Path? That'll be a 3-mile loop that will connect Cumberland. So it will go through Truist Park, the Battery Atlanta, the Galleria, Waverly Hotel area, and connect to trails on the east side. I would equate this to similar to the Atlanta Beltline. So this would be a 14-foot wide path with a 5-foot landscape buffer. The ultimate goal is to have separated lanes for walking, biking, and eventually an autonomous shuttle that will be able to help improve the walkability, bikeability, and transportation of this area. So you'll be able to hop on and be able to be transported quickly to one venue to another. The total price tag on that is $25 million. It is contingent, the timeline is contingent upon funding, and we're working diligently to leverage our funds in order to get more funds from any resources that we can at the federal level, state level, to move this project forward. Second thing I want to talk to you about is our bike share. A lot of you may know about our bike share. It's Cumberland Bike Share. We have 7 stations here in Cumberland. Bike share is free for the first hour. You just have to download an app called the Mobatic app. You just download the app, just enter in your details, and you'll be able to ride free. It shows you where the stations are in the district, and it'll be able to take you. You can ride those from station to station for the first hour. When I say free for the first hour, it's free for every time you get on the bike for the first hour. It's just not free for the first time you do it. So it's a service that the CID offers back to the community. Third thing I'll talk to you about is our trails. If you go to cumberlandtrails.org, you'll be able to see various trails in the area. That shows you trails in the Cumberland CID. You'll be able to take your bike share, your bike ride on those trails, and then it'll connect you all around in the area. Just to sum up, what I want to say is we couldn't do what we do without our great partners. Commissioner Richardson is a great partner to the CID. She's offered many letters of support for our projects. And Cobb DOT, I see in the back, they are very great to work with and a great partner, as well as all of Cobb County. Our state and local leaders as well, they play a vital and important role, as well as the Cobb Chamber and their support of our projects. So if you leave with anything else today, know that we can't do it without our great partners, and we're very thankful for them. Happy to answer any questions about the 3 items I talked about or any other projects. Yes,
I
sir.
was last Sheriff Richardson town hall meeting on transportation. It was excellent. And we had the DOT at a table. I went over there and asked, how many charging stations do we have at Cobb? How many are planned to be built? They said, those are charging stations. Do you have any over the CID in place or planned?
So that is something that will be looked at with the Cumberland Multimodal Path. For what we do, we provide transportation services, not necessarily, I think, charging areas that may be a little bit set up outside of our charter and our legal responsibilities. But we don't have any right now, I can tell you that much. But when we plan out the Cumberland Multimodal Path, that'll be something that'll be studied in conjunction with that. Is that my favorite reporter in the back? Yes.
Adam, I just wanted to ask, sort of, as we're talking about this IMSS clause, different options for transit, BRT, rail, bus expansion. CID have any preferred options for that?
For, what was the question again?
For potential transit clause in next year or 3 years?
I'd have to get back to you on that. Right now, we're focused on projects that we're focused on. Our projects are focused on infrastructure, like roads and bridges. Transit is something that we are looking at and studying. That would be a question for my director of planning and projects, and I'd be more than happy to get you information on those things. All right, so there's no questions. I'll turn it back over to the commission. Thank you.
Awesome. We have a lot going on in this district, don't we? All right, Cobb Community Foundation update.
Hello, everybody. I am Catherine Gankowski from the Cobb Community Foundation. I thank you very much for your time tonight and letting us impart some of the great things that we're doing in this county. As you may have seen on social media, we've been spending a lot of time talking about our why. Why do we exist? Why don't we just become a part of the Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta? And why do we work so hard? It's because we want our community, Cobb, and everyone in it and around it to thrive. And we believe that by helping those who give and serve make a greater impact, we're also helping everyone. We accomplish this in 3 ways: pulling resources to address community needs, creating and maintaining charitable funds for individuals, families, and businesses, and working with nonprofits and governments and businesses to foster collaboration. An example of pulling resources to address community needs is the Cobb COVID-19 Community Response Fund, which raised close to $400,000 for many of you here and watching online. With this fund, we were able to meet the needs that were not otherwise being met, to do it quickly and potentially with a long-term impact. As significant CARES Act funding and other federal dollars were used for rental assistance, we focused primarily on food. In addition to working with the county to allocate CARES Act dollars on food, we helped purchase food and what was needed to store and distribute it, like refrigerated pods, forklifts, and pallet jacks. Our second largest categories for education. Some of this went to purchase laptops for students, fund school social workers during the summer, pay for elementary ESL students, and some was also given for food. There are some dollars remaining in this fund, and we're waiting to see where those dollars will be most needed as this year progresses. In our last update, we shared with you about the Cobb Community Food Fleet and how over 90 individual organizations, both for-profit and nonprofit, were working together at Truist Park, the Galleria, Cobb Energy Center, and the backyard of Sweetwater Mission to deliver food to over 50 locations throughout the county. The food was provided through the USDA's Farmer to Family Food Box program. Though our efforts with the on-site management of Noonday Association, boxes were pre-filled with produce, protein, and dairy and began being delivered to Truist Park in May of 2020. Those deliveries continued to either the stadium or one of the other locations until the program ended on May 31st of this year. During that time, we received and distributed over 159,000 boxes of food, weighing a total of 42 million pounds, which provided 3.5 million meals. While certainly there was a cost to the American taxpayer, there was no direct cost to Cobb. When the program ended, Cobb Community Foundation reached out to Chairwoman Cubitt, Commissioner Richardson, and others to request support for an allocation from the $73 million of the American Rescue Plan funds allocated to Cobb to continue to purchase food boxes, at least to get us through the summer. For those organizations highly dependent upon volunteers to box the food, receiving the pre-boxed produce provided significant relief to them as their volunteer base had pretty much diminished over COVID. Not to mention the relief that the families who were still struggling. With Commissioner Richardson's support, $1.5 million in funding for food was made available. Thank you very much. Grants from the community fund, like COVID-19 funds, are not the only grants that we make. The vast majority of the 135 charitable funds we manage were set up by individuals, families, and quite a few companies to simplify their giving. To date, our charitable funds have distributed $1.3 million to nonprofit organizations. That is our highest ever at this point in any year. We're very proud to say that 60% of these dollars have gone to Cobb-based organizations, and an additional 20% has stayed in Metro Atlanta. In addition to contributions to educational institutions for their own scholarships, we have fund holders who have created scholarships with us, and we have awarded 32 scholarships totaling $62,000. We've recently seen an influx of companies wanting to be more intentional about their charitable giving by creating corporate giving funds to which the company employees can contribute and use the funds to grant to charitable organizations. Another area of growth has been employee assistance funds, which are confidential employee benefit programs that allow employees to apply for emergency financial support when unavoidable, catastrophic, or extreme circumstances create a financial hardship for the employees. We are one of only 2 community foundations in Georgia to offer this type of fund and are proud to partner with the Center for Family Resources to provide this assistance. With COVID-19 at least appearing to be substantially behind us, we're now refocusing our efforts on the response we had planned to the Cobb Human Services Needs Assessment we commissioned in 2019. The study looked at every census tract in Cobb County and is based on key data such as percentage of 3rd grade reading level, unemployment and poverty rates, eviction rates, and percentage of adults without health insurance. Georgia Center for Nonprofits and Neighborhood Nexus rated each census tract on a need scale for each of the categories, with red being the highest need and green being the lowest need. The results of this study can also be found on our website under What We Do. Of course, after seeing this information, the next question is, what are we going to do with it? As we said earlier, we exist because we want our community to thrive. And obviously, there are parts of our community that are clearly not thriving. At the time of our study concluded, the Georgia Partnership for Excellence in Education presented this illustration of the healthy economic lifestyle. And to us, this appeared to be a great illustration of what it meant for a family to thrive. But a poverty life cycle looks very different, and it can begin very early. Note that this is also a cycle. It's just not a very desirable one. The descriptions in the red octagons are all data points that were measured in our study. those areas that consistently showed high percentages of low birth rate, poverty, unemployment, high school dropout rates were all shaded in orange or red on our map. We call these areas the red zones. We became hyper-focused on halting the poverty life cycle in our community. But how? The answer was to provide wraparound, multi-generational services that would meet immediate needs, while also making available the learning and social supports that would provide a long-term solution. Critical to doing so successfully was for these services and supports to be local and provided by trusted organizations known by those receiving the services. So here was our plan to move those red zones closer to green. We would provide support to organizations who provided services in the red zones that agreed to collaborate with other organizations to create a wraparound model. We would measure the impact on third grade reading levels and eighth grade math levels. We would also help those organizations that provided the needed services in the locations that needed them, but who were lacking in knowledge or practice that are important to those who provide funding. And then COVID hit. We are now focused again on this study result and doing something about them, but we're applying what we learned during COVID. A community resource hub is a public space that brings several community agencies and neighborhood groups together to offer a range of activities, programs, and services. There are a number of faith-based organizations located in or near our red zones that would like their facilities to be used during the week to serve their community, and who want organizations who can help meet the short and long-term needs to partner with them in doing so. A capacity building grant is a financial award to a nonprofit organization used to develop competencies, strategies, systems, and structures in order to improve organizational effectiveness. We will be making announcements on these two very soon. This is probably my most favorite part, and I don't want to close without encouraging all nonprofits that serve our Cobb County residents to be sure they're listed on the connection, and to encourage anyone looking to volunteer or provide other forms of support to search the connection. This is our online repository where those who need help find it, and those who want to provide help can give it. You may find that at cobbconnection.org, and please be aware, it only likes Chrome. Here's our contact information, and please let us know if we can help you give or serve with greater impact. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for this opportunity to update your district, and thank you to those who are present online and here for giving us time.
All right, we've got another one, guys. Chamber, Sharon.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate you inviting me this evening, and I have several great updates for you. So first, I want to start with economic recovery. This has been a big focus for our chamber and many partners working with the county, with our commissioners, really all of our partners here throughout the pandemic. And immediately when the pandemic hit, our chamber formed an economic recovery task force to especially focus on short-term and long-term solutions and really drive strategies that help the businesses most hit by the pandemic. And so this led to a lot of driving of resources and especially helping the businesses that needed it the most, the small businesses, the businesses that have any type of in-person services that were affected. And so what this led to is a lot of solutions to help people shop local in the way that they feel safe during the pandemic, and then also to do things like the small business grants that was a partnership with Cobb County government and our Board of Commissioners. And we're able to, through the chamber and this great partnership with the Board of Commissioners, distribute $50 million in small business grants to over 3,700 small businesses, 100 or less employees in Cobb County. And over 1,000 of these businesses were specifically in District 2. And I know from talking to many of these and hearing the stories from them, this was just the boost they needed to offset and also help with other things like the PPP, because the pandemic was lasting so much longer than we expected. And so many of these have really helped our small businesses to get through this difficult time and survive. We want to make sure that we're continuing to focus on the recovery. And we've championed many solutions, many resources throughout, including over 20 business recovery webinars that really helped companies every step of the way, helping specifically in partnership with Cobb Community Foundation and many others to drive Operation Meal Plan, to help our restaurants, our retailers, you name it, it's all been part of our strategy to help. And we're seeing Georgia be at the top, in Cobb County in particular, for recovery because of many of these efforts to help our small businesses. So biggest encouragement there is let's all make sure we continue to support our local businesses, continue to make sure we're shopping locally and supporting our local retailers and really all of our businesses that are recovering, but glad to see so much great recovery is happening. Then secondly, as a chamber that focuses with our commissioners and great people like Jason Gaines and Cumberland CID, many other partners, our Cobb Galleria Center with Michelle Swan here, so many others. We focus on economic development and driving, attracting, recruiting, and retaining high-quality jobs to the county is a big focus for us, because we know that means when these jobs are coming, they're going to be spending money, they're going to be shopping in stores and investing, having local small business vendors, and it has a huge ripple impact on the economy to really lift and help and elevate the investment. It also raises our tax digest to keep our taxes low, to make sure that we continue to, as citizens, have a great place and great thriving place to live, work, and play. And I'm pleased to say that during the pandemic, we have even more companies looking at Cobb County than we ever have before. And more specifically in District 2, because of this very intentional strategy to tell our story, working with the county and Cumberland CID and so many others, we are seeing more headquarters, more North American headquarters, more different industries, technology, fintech coming here. And just this year, we've had some historic announcements, more than we ever have since we've had Select Cobb Economic Development Strategy. We've already had 19 project announcements, 7 of these specifically within District 2. So most recently, a few examples: Relay Payments, they're a fintech company, coming to Cobb Galleria, adding 200 high-quality jobs, which is great. We're becoming quite the foodies. Chicken Salad Chick just announced their headquarters. Papa John's, their global headquarters. I'm bringing several hundred high-quality jobs to Cobb County. And then Mike Plant mentioned earlier, some earlier projects announced, He's and Crumb Elevators. They're bringing their 1,000 jobs, and that's going to come to fruition later this year. So all of the efforts are going to continue to help and make sure that we have these great jobs for our citizens. Many are hiring locally. So I'm bringing talent from other places, but also having some great opportunities for our citizens for high-quality jobs that are great pay, great benefits. And really, as we diversify our industries here in Cobb County, that's going to continue to help us for any type of recession or any type of time that our county may go through. And so this is a tremendous effort in partnership with the county, and we're going to continue to see great results. We actually have over 70 companies right now looking at Cobb, and a fourth of them are specifically looking in District 2. So we'll keep seeing some more great things, Commissioner, and looking forward to more of these announcements and great companies. And in our chamber, we work very closely with these companies to help them get involved with our nonprofits and getting great in the community as well. And then we're also focusing on a lot of the areas that drive a company and are part of what helped them grow from a startup to a major corporation and everywhere in between. And that includes having quality workforce. And that's why we're focusing very intentionally in partnership. I see Dr. Rivera in partnership with our great K-12 schools, with our higher education institutions to make sure that we have the right kind of pipeline of talent. And that is the number one reason companies are continuing to choose Cobb County, because we have the top talent here. And so we'll continue to work with our many partners in education and business to make sure we're driving and championing this solution. So a lot more to come there, but we are seeing the unemployment rate significantly go down and helping many companies to make sure they have not only the talent for today, but the talent for the future. And I'll tell you the great work of what Marietta City Schools, what Cobb County schools are doing with our college and career academies is making a major impact. We look forward to many other great partnerships. And then also lots of discussions continuing to happen for transportation mobility. And our chamber looks forward to putting on a Transportation Mobility Summit October 12th, coming up at the Cobb Energy Performing Arts Center, and look forward to that as we keep championing solutions to make sure that employers and employees can easily get to work and have a great quality of life. This is critically important, and look forward to continuing to partner with the county on many initiatives underway. And then finally, I will say our chamber, a big passion for me as well, in addition to all that I've mentioned, is for companies to get started and to really thrive here. We want Cobb County to be the top place for you to start your business, grow your business, and make sure you continue to thrive and grow every step of the way for your company. And so we want to make sure we're having those support services for entrepreneurs. And so we're having a lot of great partnerships to make sure that we're championing companies and giving them the type of resources they need to get their business started. So look forward to much more to come there. Our chamber, go to our Cobb Chamber's website, cobbchamber.org. We've got a lot of fantastic resources, many that help companies with each step for their business success, whether it's our CEO roundtable programs, whether it's our many leadership programs for personal and professional growth, Leadership Cobb. I know I see several graduates in here of Leadership Cobb. You name it, but that is our focus as a chamber, and we look forward to continuing to partner with the county. And thank you, and appreciate the time tonight. So thank you, Commissioner.
There's still more to hear, but aren't you guys so proud of Cobb County and proud of those that serve Cobb County? Please, like, this doesn't happen without these types of partnerships. That is what allows us to have a thriving community. So, next up, Legislative Sharon Cooper. Representative Cooper, thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and for inviting me to participate. Good evening, everybody. I'm Sharon Cooper. I'm representing for District 43, which is Lower East Cobb. And we're sort of right on the edge of it right at the moment. And I appreciate your participation today and those that are watching online. This is sort of a quiet time for legislators. We're out of session. We're in our districts, taking care of constituent issues and going to meetings. But as far as meeting as a whole group, we don't do that during the summer times. And I think a lot of the legislators have done what a lot of our citizens are doing, and they've hit the road. People are tired of being inside, and there's a tremendous number of people that are traveling. But I'll start with the budget that's coming up. We have good news, and a lot of Sharon, thank you for helping Cobb be one of the things that added to the state budget with the income. We did end the year in the black and ahead of what we thought it would be. And what this means is, as the governor prepares the budget for next year, he can take a sort of a breath, and there will be a little bit more room and not such a concern about whether we're going to be able to meet the needs that the different departments ask for. How this works is that starting in August every year, the governor starts working on a budget. He asks all the departments in state government to look at their areas and to submit a budget to him. And around October, working with economists, 2 or 3 different economists across the state, the governor will set what he thinks will be our budget amount for the next year. And we are a state that has to have a balanced budget. And so if he says it's so many billions of dollars, that's all we can spend. And the departments will put their budgets and he will say what gets cut, what doesn't get cut. And when we go back into session, the second Monday in January, during that week, the governor will come and present his budget. Now, you will hear all during session that the Senate's working on the budget and the House is working on the budget and they're in conference committee on the budget. But I will tell you that by the time it gets to us, we move it around and we change things and we can mix some things, but basically the budget is pretty much set by the governor. And that is what we follow, just a little bit of difference. But at least we're going into that time with a positive attitude because of the revenue that we have received. And there are a lot of costs coming. Now, the governor right now has money from the feds. If you read the Atlanta Constitution today, you heard about the needs of our nursing homes and our assisted living facilities. They take care of some of our most vulnerable citizens across the state. The state has already been putting millions and millions of dollars into helping nursing homes and assisted living that have memory care units during the pandemic. At one count toward the end of session, we were at $60-something million just in helping by giving them temporary aids and the state paid for it. They were so short-staffed of people to take care of the elderly that we use a temp agency and we pay, the state, citizens of Georgia, paid to get extra help into nursing homes that were in dire need of people to take care of the elderly. Now, what is happening is the pandemic is easing up. What they're finding is that they have a lot of vacancies. People are very hesitant now because of what happened nationally and all the deaths in the nursing homes. Elderly people are real reluctant to go into these facilities, and they are running at very low occupancy rates, and many of them are on the brink of insolvency. So much of the money, I think, or a lot of the money that comes from the feds, a portion of that will be used to help the nursing homes survive. We have to have places to take care of our elderly. Many of them that have nowhere else to go, and they end up in these facilities across our state. So it's a must, because think about it. Most of them during the regular times are full. And it's what happens when there's a bad one. And we go in and we close it because it's bad. What happens to all the other people, or to the people that were living there? How do you get them into another facility, hopefully close to the one they were in, when the other facilities around them are full? I mean, it's a real dilemma because there's not that many. So much of the money that's coming in from the feds, a lot of it will be used for that. The pandemic, if I can think of anything, this is a stretch, good that came out of the pandemic, I will tell you it is what it did for telemedicine. It probably moved telemedicine 10 years ahead of where we were going. Because of the crisis and people couldn't live in their homes, we changed our rules by executive order and allowed physicians and people to, do you and to Skype and so forth, and even to talk to you on the telephone if somebody did not have the ability to zoom in and so forth, and to talk to physicians about their problems and be treated. One of the things I did this last quarter is that was done by emergency order from the governor. So when those emergency orders went out, all of those provisions would have gone away. So I passed the telemedicine bill, which allows them. And one of the best things about that bill is the kind of scope that it allows for people in the mental health field. They got a broader ability under the new bill than the others, because basically you do need to see your physician and have some kind of relationship with them before they start treating you as a chamber under normal times, as a stranger. So, but in telemedicine, when it comes to psychiatry and mental health problems, you can, phone. A lot of the care is, through talking to somebody. So we did give them bigger leeway. And we did it also because we are extremely short of healthcare workers of all types in the mental health field. So please, if you have grandchildren in college, if you have young people that are coming up and getting ready to go to college, ask them to explore the kind of jobs that they can have in the mental health field. It's my background working in the mental health field. I can tell you it's a very rewarding type of job. And we are extreme. I mean, from psychiatrists to psychologists to social workers to psychiatric nurse practitioners in that area. We don't have enough people to meet the needs. And the pandemic has meant that those needs went up 100%. I don't know whether you realize it or not, but we in Georgia, our deaths from drug overdoses has increased by 105%. It's doubled. It's not now medications from the physicians. It's the ones on the street. And they are laced with fentanyl, which is something used for just the worst pain ever. It's so seldom used, or in anesthesia type of it. And it is deadly. I mean, the tiniest little bit on the end of my finger can kill you. And they are lacing it, the drug dealers are lacing everything with it, from Xanax to hydrocodone. And they are making these drugs look exactly like the drugs that you would get if you went to a pharmacy and they were given to you. So please, if you've got grandchildren, if you are a parent that has children, if you know somebody, I have a little neighbor that likes to walk my dog, and he's 12. And I had just gotten off the phone with the latest update, yes, and Toby came to walk Maggie. And before I let him walk Maggie, I talked to him about never accepting any kind of medication from anybody else. And then I realized, oh my gosh, will his mother be upset with me? And so I made a point of making sure that as I went out in the subdivision that day, I stopped to tell her and said, I may need to apologize to you. I want you to know that I talked to Toby about drugs and not accepting, anything, and I hope I didn't overstep my bounds. And the mom said, no, that's really good. So we're working on this. People in law enforcement are overwhelmed with the calls, the need for Narcan, which can sometimes turn reverse drug overdoses if people get to them in time. But sometimes it is so bad with fentanyl that one dose of Narcan is not enough. 3 doses is not enough. 5 doses is not enough of Narcan. And sometimes they still lose the person. That's how deadly fentanyl is. And it's not just drugs and alcohol people have turned to during the pandemic. If they had any form of mental illness, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, they have been exacerbated. And so the needs are tremendous. So I'm glad to report that the state is just getting $80 million from the Trump administration. It took them a little time to get it here from that administration. And on the way is $90 million from the Biden administration to go into our mental health system. Now, the only trouble with federal money, and I'm sure you're learning this, is they give it to you, but you only get it one time. And so once you've used it, most of the time you don't get it again like we're getting it this time. The pandemic is a little different. And so the state will have to look at the programs very carefully, which ones are successful. I will tell you one of the most successful things that you can do in treating mentally ill people, especially in drugs and alcohol, is peer providers. These are people who've walked the walk, who've had an addiction problem, who've gotten it under control, and it is very effective. One of the most effective programs going is up at Northeast Georgia Medical Center with mothers who come in addicted to drugs and putting a peer review with a peer person with them to start working with them. And I can't tell you how many babies across the state that we get addicted to drugs. It is a real problem across our state. So that's where a lot of concentration, you're going to see a lot of bills probably coming next session on mental health. And I think probably the commissioner knows, because we run mental health programs here in Cobb County, how important it is to get help to our mentally ill. A lot of the problems that we have, the homelessness, sometimes even crime, alcohol and drug abuse and so forth, have a mental health basis. And if we can do a better job in helping people with their mental illness, hopefully we will decrease the other problems that we see for them. One of the things we did to help telemedicine is broadband. Every group sort of fights down at the session over things, and here we are pushing broadband so that we can get better telecommunications for children across our state and our schools in rural Georgia. You'd think everybody would be on that bandwagon. Well, no, the big providers of electricity and power and all, they didn't really want to give up some of their power. But last session, we gave EMCs the right to work on our broadband issue. We finally got that settled, because the EMCs, they're the ones in rural Georgia. And they're the ones that have already got lines or whatever you need to do broadband, and you got the poles and already. So it's just seemed like common sense, but it meant changing a whole lot of rules and making some people unhappy, but that's okay. It's one of the things we do. Just telling you a couple of things that mean a lot to my heart. We touched on them a little bit here. Is I got $20 million in the budget last year. I couldn't believe it. In a down year, I went begging for $20 million, and it was to help us with our maternal mortality. Losing one mother is too much. I can't imagine what that's like. I lost my mother at 12. It was bad enough at 12. I can imagine never growing up knowing your mother. And so I am glad to say that we are working on that issue. Our pregnant mothers, once they deliver, now have 6 months of care. And that is a time when a lot of heart disease shows up after delivery. We even get some eclampsia problems going on with that. Now we're trying to work. Somebody came to me and said, will you ask for 6 more months? And I went, nope, not now, but I'll ask for it in another way. We had one small study, and we had 5,000 mothers that didn't get any prenatal care. For whatever reason, they're entitled to be covered, for it to be paid for. But for some reason, they didn't get prenatal care. And I said, if you write up a program that goes out and we can get these mothers and find a way to get them into prenatal care, which would help with low birth weight babies, infant death, and if we could be proactive in picking up issues with the mothers that might cause them to die during the delivery. So we're working on that issue. And the other big thing is, to the lady who was here about the children, there are over 200,000 children in this state that are entitled to health care. We already have a program. All they have to do is be signed up by their parents. For whatever reason, they're not getting it. Well, I learned during session, just by accident, that people who went to sign up for food stamps, that they needed food stamps, they would sign up for food stamps, but that didn't sign their children up for health care. And it's basically the same application, but they were having to go, if they wanted to take care of their children health-wise, and go through the process again. So we are now, I passed a bill, we are now in the process of getting federal approval to share information from those two programs. And pretty soon, if some family needs food stamps, their children will automatically be signed up to go on the health care program, because they are already eligible for it. The state has the program, it's in the budget, and they need to be seen. So when you talk about the things that you're doing in your community, sometimes we seem like we're down there and, you don't hear about the little things, but we are working to try to help you meet the needs of those children. as far as healthcare goes. Healthcare is my issue. It's what I've done all my life, and anything I can do to help people get good healthcare, I'm for it. Especially, and I will give a plug out, and I'll shut up, to federally qualified health programs. How many people have heard about our federally qualified health programs? 1, 2 people. They're all over the state. There's 229 locations of federally qualified health programs. They are our safety nets. They treat people if they don't have any money, if they're on Medicaid, if they're on Medicare, whatever. They do a sliding scale if you can do it a little bit. They have good doctors, nurses. They have great outcomes. Often their outcomes are better than the ones that we get from Medicaid. Hear that? They get better healthcare outcomes than Medicaid. They are all over our state. There is one right across from Kennesaw Hospital and the main hospital. So if you hear of somebody who can't afford healthcare, send them to the federally qualified health program. If you can't find it, if it's somewhere else, let me know, and I'll try to find one and see if there's one in your area. Because they truly are our safety net across our state, and they're doing a really good job, and people don't know about it. Thank you. It's an honor to serve my people, and I talked too long, and I will end it there.
We really do have to keep the program moving, but be sure to, Representative Cooper, you're standing after for a little bit.
Oh, I love that.
He just asked a question, so we'll certainly get to that. So we were also going to have an update from Congressman Barry Loudermilk. Unfortunately, we have conflict, and also, if you know the school board, we did have someone from CCSD to speak at our first town hall. They're having their meeting right now, which is also very interesting. So they won't be able to do the update for this one, but for Congressman Loudermilk, he did provide just a little bit for me to share with you all about where his focus is. It is not an overall. I do have a follow-up slide just to share some of the other things that are going on as well. But we've got, I'm going to summarize it for you a little bit because I don't want you to squint. But in general, Return to Work Act, this is HR 3254, and the goal is really to enhance getting back to work. But this does include, just for awareness for everyone, this does include elimination of the federal UI benefits, addressing fraud in the program, etc., and he signed on to letters in the bill urging schools to reopen. Secondly, also the C-130H mission for Dobbins ARB, and supports the new C-130s for Georgia International Guard and U.S. Air Force Reserve. So this is in tandem with Lockheed and all the jobs, making sure that we are supporting those entities here in Cobb. Also supporting Kim's efforts to increase broadband service throughout Georgia, so head mounted broadband. Joined several letters were sent as well asking the FCC to update broadband delivery maps so that Georgians everywhere can have access to proper broadband service. And I can share as well, I know that there have been several studies on this front about the highest need areas within the state. Also on here, so some bipartisan effort with Senator Chris Murphy to introduce the Bipartisan Trust in Public Service Act, and this is to improve customer service delivered by federal agencies. So I'm sure everybody can nod that one. We appreciate the work that everyone does, truly. So that is a little bit there, and just some additional things going on at the federal level that we're keeping an eye on that will have an impact here in Cobb County. Infrastructure bill, the American Rescue Plan for funding for children with disabilities, so that came through as well, looking at where that can go. And then voting rights bill, that's also something that is under consideration and will have an impact to the county as well. All right, so now we're back to county stuff. How are you guys feeling? Still with me? You still proud of Cobb? Still feeling good? Okay, great. No, thank you all for your insight, your updates, and I definitely encourage community members to stay plugged in with all of the efforts that take place, because this is, like I said, this is our community. We rely on everyone to work together. So my North Stars, if you looked at the little pamphlet and you opened it up and turned it upside down, you'll see that I included some areas with some green and red arrows. So as I shared, we're not fully there with complete metrics at this point for what I would like to see, but we are at beginning metrics because we're going to start collecting all this data, and eventually we'll have our annual report where you'll hear some of these updates, you'll see some of these updates, as well as county updates and more distinct concrete numbers. But my 4 North Stars, outside of my primary one, is sustainable financial practices, equitable development, strategic positioning, and constituent and experience rating, right? So these are things that I believe you would love to have as a community, to be able to hold us accountable to. So I included just a few bullet points under each of those different areas so that you can see where we're doing well. So under sustainable financial practices, you can see recruitment has improved in public safety with a reduced number of vacancies. Why does that tie to that? If you've ever heard me talk about the budget, I talk about deferred risk, right? Delayed risk, that if we don't keep up with inflation, if we don't keep up with making sure that we are compensating our personnel properly, there is a day where we will lose them. And that is more expensive than retaining them and training them and treating them the right way along the way. So we're doing well in that department right now. For public safety, we have started to address some of those pieces. Tax digest increased to accommodate the minimal costs. So I mentioned that when I talked about the budget, about the health and pension costs. So all of those, we're okay, right? And what this is showing us though, because if you're aware of how our taxes work, we've got the floating homestead. So basically, if you're still in your home, and even though the revenue, even though your property value goes up, you'll see that the homestead will go up as well to be consistent with it. So when you're seeing an increase in the overall revenue, it is due to new people, new residents, transitions, etc. So those are all really healthy indicators. Under strategic positioning, new companies headquartering in Cobb and corporate expansions. I love it. That is something that is super important when it comes to, you mentioned tourism. When we talk about these different budgets that exist, you've got the SPLOST accounts, you've got your property tax, millage rate type accounts, you've got funds. All of those have specific restrictions tied to them. So this is something that's a really healthy indicator when we talk about some of the SPLOST proceeds, because that goes towards heavy capital investment. And capital investment is a really good way to make sure that we are not delaying our risk in some of our budgeting practices. Next thing is strong indicators of COVID bounce back with new tourism and increased employment rates. So we held an economic development forum a couple weeks ago, talked about a lot of different indicators, and really great discussion about that. Equitable development. So positive here, strong indicators that new home values are actually reflective of the market realities. Interesting statistics, right? Thinking about whether or not these are inflated values or are they real. And what we're noticing is that most of the people that are acquiring property are from the Northeast, from the West Coast, and also people that can actually afford the home that they're purchasing, which means it's kind of reflective of the market. So just be mindful of that, because that ties directly into this next point that I have here, which given that, and this is something that we should just be aware of as a community, what that also indicates that there may be a widening economic gap for those that would need access to capital, that there is going to be an increased disparity between the two groups. So we should be very mindful about that and strategic about how we approach that, because in a community, if you're talking about stability, you have to look at where those risks are so that we can bring everyone into the fold, because it takes all of us. Constituent experience. So these are just some of the stats out of our office directly. So as you know, or maybe you don't know, you can book time with me directly, talk to me directly about anything that's on your mind, and the opinion you may have. I'm happy to discuss those things with you and learn from them as well. And so I have different meetings set up, but I also have meetings that are specifically with constituents. A single person just wants to talk. And so this quarter, we've done 189 of those. Does not include all of the other group meetings or sessions or community chats or town halls. So happy about that. We hosted about 3 community chats this quarter on different topics. We've got 39% completed constituent issues in our queue. We actually do count and keep track of which ones we complete and which ones are pending. 14% of our constituent issues are in implementation in the county right now. 35% of them, of the issues tend to be community development, 19% tend to be DOT related, which I know staff, you know already. Yeah, it's fun. And our average completion date on some of these issues depends on the issue. We do have some complex ones that take a longer time, but it takes us about 26 days to turn that around as of now for you. And our reach, I wanted to put this in here because reach is very important, but it takes each of us to take a little bit of ownership of it. Right now, our office reaches about 2% of the people that we represent. And we all know that an educated community is a community that thrives. And so if people aren't aware of what's going on or what resources are available, that's where we have gaps. That's where we have deficits. That's where we have portions that fail. That's where we have people that feel left out. They feel like their voice was heard. So if we can all take a little bit of ownership to help us just share the information with our neighbors or connect them directly with the office, that will be doing a lot and doing a lot to serve this community. My brightest star won't be reported tonight. It'll be reported in the annual, but I just want to keep that top of mind for everyone because I see Cobb County as the leader in the country. We have all the talent, we have all the challenges, we have all the diversity. That's all the ingredients it takes to lead on every single conversation, every single topic. So those, we actually have quite a few things that we have collected so far. And when the annual report comes out, we get a chance to actually explore that and see that because here in Cobb County, we're leading in many ways. And you even heard some of them from some of the speakers today as well. So those are those North Stars. All right, so what is everyone talking about? And who's here? Let's see. In Cobb County, we're a person. These are the different topics that you guys care about. You, others, etc., with your community. Myself, got roads, you got zoning, planning, schools. You've got East Cobb, you've got CRT. All of those things are a part of the discussion fabric in our community. And I like to just show this because it gives some perspective for who you live with, who you're living by, your neighbors. And who's here? Well, it seems like most of you guys are from East Cobb. Raise hands. East Cobb? Yeah, there we go. That's pretty reflective, right? And then second, Smyrna, and then Vinings with a close third. So, or far, a distant third. So thank you, everybody, for being here because we want to have representation from all of our different communities. This district is extremely diverse. And with that, we have a lot of really great insight that can come in. And that's why I say we can truly be leaders because it takes different perspectives to lead on conversations. So priorities, how are we doing with the priorities that I listed out from the Q1 town hall? This is just a reminder of what they were. There were 9 for this year. We got overcoming the pandemic, the 3 Ps of public safety, fiscal responsibility, environment, mobility plan, library revitalization, planning and affordability, youth diversity and inclusivity, and recreation and wraparound services. Actually got pretty far so far. Doing pretty good. So these are the successes. We've navigated health and economic needs due to the pandemic. So a lot of provisions have been put in place here. And we've been listening to different communities, bringing in those resources to make that happen, work with different partners to make that happen. Doesn't mean that it's over. It just means that we have definitely addressed some of those key areas that really need to focus. Wear Orange Day proclamation. So this was something that was very important for a very large portion of our constituency. There are a lot of people that have lost family members due to gun violence. And so in order to show solidarity and support, we celebrate Wear Orange Day. And it's just a way to elevate that conversation. The community cabinet, they have been very, very active in rolling out things, standing up resources and websites for the community. We'll get to some of the programs that came out of that, but certainly they made it to the list of successes. Academic Games Partnership, I'm smiling over here. Look at it. This is something very near and dear to my heart, okay? When I talk about those wraparound services and opportunities of education, working in collaboration with our schools. So this is something happy to announce with Marietta Schools, that they are really leading in this effort to bring academic games to at least the district, the area first, and then we will see if it expands to the rest of Cobb County. But these are opportunities for your children that will allow for them to compete at a national level, local and national level, on some very intense academics, but also in discerning the importance of information, the variations of information. So that was the impact that it had on my life growing up. So I wanted to make sure that that was something available to students here. If you want to learn more about that program, let me know. But it's incredible. Next thing, transportation and mobility town halls. Glad you said they were excellent. So we did have the town halls exist. That was one of the things we said we wanted to accomplish under those bullet points. A lot of great feedback. There's still a little bit more feedback. If you have not taken the mobility survey, please take the mobility survey. Please take the CTP survey first if you haven't taken that one. If you don't know what either of those are, please let me just come talk to me afterwards and I'll make sure that you know what that is. Balanced budget proposal. That was one of the things that we wanted to do. Was figure out, hopefully make sure that what came in would not impact the millage rate, that we could make it work and still satisfy some of the needs. And it was important for us to not necessarily raise the millage rate because we know that we're coming out of a pandemic. And it's hard. Things are difficult. There are things that are unsettled. There are things we don't know. And we want to make sure that there is enough time for the community to provide input so that when we approach the biennium, we can do it in a mindful way and in a comprehensive way, considering all the different factors and opportunities that we, whether it be private-public partnerships, whether it be different ways of structuring things, that opportunity has to be there. So, zoning transparency, this one was really big as well, making sure that we were getting more active about how we talked about zoning, how we talked about planning, involving and making sure that the different associations had an increased voice, and that we were demystifying some of the process along the way. I'm not saying it's fully demystified, but we are certainly getting there so that everyone at least understands what goes into the planning process and how different decision points can be leveraged. And public safety investments. So that was another one of those successes. These are the things that are on track. Even more, yes. Library revitalization. I won't go into too many details, but some significant progress has been made on this front. I would say it's about 30–40% complete at this point. The 9 master plans. Raise your hand if you've heard of the Master Plan Ambassador Program. Yeah, okay. So if you have not heard of it, what we identified in the Q1 town hall is that there are 9 distinct communities in the district. And if you want to be one of the organizers in helping lead the community and working with our civic associations in designing the master plan for the area, that I invite you to be a master plan ambassador. We are picking the ambassadors this week, next week, and then there'll be some training, and then you get to kick off and over the next couple of months build those master plans in conjunction with community development. Youth Board of Commissioners, it's on track as well. These are all really exciting things. An opportunity for your children to be involved in the government, to be involved with the government and play a significant role of being able to learn, being able to suggest, being able to provide that input, and just keep everything fresh. Youth Board of Commissioners. Improved access to relief efforts. These are things that we are looking at very deeply around the call center, around communication methods, but also around the process itself, some of the constraints that come along with some of these federal monies to reference Representative. But certainly looking at how we can make sure that residents are aware of the resources and actually are able to apply for them and receive them. Affordable housing model, this is also on track. So we developed a task force in terms of how we will go about actually building a model. This will be a task force that has a result. I'm really excited. So be on the lookout for more information about that because that one is certainly on the coming soon list. Mental health investments. Mental health is super important. A lot of monies that are available for mental health at this point, and it is something that is extremely important to us on the commission as well. It's one of our priorities. Junior Achievement Discovery Center for Financial Literacy. Financial literacy is one of the priorities as well, making sure that those opportunities are available to our students, to our children, but also to those that parent them. It's generational when you talk about financial literacy. Budget Town Hall and Taxpayers Receipt Tool, also on track. Smart Communities Campaign. Did you know that we are super digital here in Cobb County? We are. And I can't wait to share more about what's coming on the campaign side and what that means for all of us, all of our business partners, all of our community partners, and our residents as well. Environmental Justice Agreement. Talk about the environment. We talk about improving transparency and empowering our residents with information about their water, their soil, and their air. That is what the Environmental Justice Agreement is. And Public Safety Community Engagement Game also on track. Complex constituent services. These are all the issues that we identified that fall within the domain, specific domain of a department, or are an unanswered question, policy question that requires some kind of multi-jurisdictional collaboration. And so what I wanted to do on this slide was actually share a little bit of information because crime, increase in violent crimes is one of the things that was mentioned, and it's something that we've kept a very, very close eye on. And wanted to share just a couple of interesting stories from our police department. Okay, I'm gonna read off the paper, guys. Bear with me. So May 4th, 2021, there was a Volkswagen Jetta with an invalid Texas drive-out tag fixed to the rear, ran a stop sign, and Officer Poteet activated his emergency equipment to stop the vehicle. The vehicle fled, turned onto New Chastain Road. The pursuit was discontinued, but shortly dispatch informed officers that the violator had crashed his car in a single car collision. So these were the following items that were found from that car: 9 pistols, 90 bullets, THC gummies, marijuana, fingerprints, and other evidentiary items were collected. And I didn't know if, I don't think, I see Director Pryor here. I don't know if you want to come up. Okay, thank you. I want to share a couple of, I have stories.
On that particular case, the officer was 62 years old, and he actually retired this week. We had his retirement celebration on Tuesday. He was also a 20-year Army veteran, served in the Ranger Battalion. He worked circles around a 25-year-old at 62. He's an amazing gentleman, but this particular case, I'm sorry, I should introduce myself. My name is Jeff Adcock. I'm the Deputy Chief of the Police Department. I'm in charge of all 5 precincts. There's 3 deputy chiefs, and then the chief of police. The chief of police is actually out of town. This particular case that the commissioner is speaking about, though, is amazing. There's 9 guns recovered from that car. That leads to other investigations. We have other techniques we use to test the guns to see if they're involved in other crimes. We can take the shell casings through a partnership with Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and see if those guns have been used in other crimes. And we connected a number of cases throughout the county, and in fact, we solved murders in the city of Atlanta with shell cases we recovered from this district. So this case is a very important case, and Officer Poteet made lots of cases throughout his career, and was a very, very active officer in getting the bad guys off the street.
We keep going. Have the other two. That's awesome, though. Thank you, Officer. And congratulations on the retirement. And maybe he's watching online. The second story we have here is really this year East Cobb residents were having mail stolen from their mailboxes. Precinct 4 conducted a thorough investigation, drove through the neighborhoods around Paper Mill Road, and while driving through, Kimberly Tyler stopped the mailboxes and stole the mail. Okay. Her vehicle was captured by flock cameras in the area. Search warrant was conducted on Kimberly Tyler's apartment in LaGrange, Georgia. That's adventurous. Numerous pieces of mail and financial transaction cards in other people's names were seized. A court order was done on Kimberly Tyler's cell phone, and the records show that she was in the area of Paper Mill during the time, and the warrant for the arrest was obtained. 3 counts of misdemeanor.
So mail theft has been a concern, a major magnitude, and Captain Knight, who's standing in the back there in his white shirt beside Richard Crider. It's been a pretty serious concern, particularly in East Cobb, and in the Vinings area. When they, right, so I'll talk about that. When mail thefts occur, it's oftentimes to get financial information so you can create credit cards and other financial tools to steal money from your bank accounts. The state passed a law in the last legislative session, just came into effect July 1st, that enhances the penalties for mail theft. It's a felony now, but the problem for us is it's a pretty complicated case to put together because you have to have 3 separate addresses together at the same time, the same suspect, and plus some additional information, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to prosecute this kind. It's not as easy as it may seem, let's put it that way. But that being said, another great case by Precinct 4 officers.
Awesome. Round of applause for Precinct. Number 3, crawling man.
Great.
Okay.
The crawling man. So he's called the crawling man because we have dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of videos of him taking a window out of a business and literally crawling into the business to get to the safes, to get to all kinds of merchandise in the store. He hit all over Cobb County, the city of Smyrna, and Marietta, elsewhere. Some outstanding investigative work went into that investigation, probably about 10 months worth of work. Major Bullet, how many cases did you get charged with in Cobb? Do you know off the top of your head?
Metro is around 83.
Yeah. Now, so he mentioned 12 in Cobb, right? That's the ones we charged him with that we can prove. There's probably, I don't know, 60, 70 in Cobb that we will never be able to prove. But once he gets released from one jail, he'll simply travel to another jail to take care of those charges. So he'll be put away for a long time. And shockingly, this isn't his first game. This is not the first time he's committed these types of crimes. And in 2 cases here, the mail theft the mail theft and then the crawling man burglaries, the commissioner mentioned flock cameras. And so flock cameras are license plate readers. It's amazing the very, very serious criminals that we are able to arrest because of license plate readers. Contrary to what people may think, we're not checking your tag. I could care less if you're driving a Volkswagen down the street. It doesn't matter to me. What I do care about, though, is if the bad guy's driving your stolen car. I also care about if we have a murder suspect in Cobb County or a kidnapping suspect in Cobb County. And I cannot tell you how many very, very extremely violent criminals we have arrested because of flock cameras. And it's all from the uniformed police officers that made those arrests. And those cameras help us make these kind of cases. In fact, not 30 minutes ago, I was talking with Director Crowder about a case that Major Bullock's people and Captain Heights people back made this evening on a guy who was broke into some cars, was in a stolen Jeep, had a stolen motorcycle, tried to enter some vehicles over at one Vinings Mountain, over at Vinings, and flood cameras. That's what solved that case. So it's an outstanding resource, and I know many of your neighborhoods have purchased those cameras, and it's a huge benefit to everybody. Thank you.
One of the things that I know we're all excited about is the incredible partnership that our police department has fostered with the sheriff's office, and that has been overall just fantastic, sharing resources, facilities, training to some degree, processes to some degree, but really, really appreciate all the effort put together to make sure that we're safer. And hopefully you'll see the fruits of all of that, all of those investments and diligence in our team. So thank you. I did see members from our sheriff's office, but I don't see them anymore. But just want to say, we do appreciate that Raj's team. Raj is with us everywhere we go, and really appreciate his support and the sheriff's office support as well for everything that we do. So, but yes, these are some of the big topics in general. So I mentioned the increase in violent crimes, major zoning decisions. Obviously, Z72 is up. Looking at you, Tony. We got racing and speeding. These are issues that are still top of mind. The racing and speeding itself. And so we will be having a follow-up discussion on some of the outcomes, because we did have a conversation with our police department as well in things that can be done. Short-term rentals, we know that that's coming. That's coming, and we're at the end of the day, we're just going to have to figure out how to be strategic about it.
And partisan and speaking too. Has to build on racing and speaking.
Okay, that too. But certainly for the short-term rentals, getting really strategic about that. Stormwater management, I do have a question at the end that came through from online, but certainly something really important to us. We're looking at it as a holistic system, right? When we think about our waterways that flow above ground, but how all of that interplays and how it interacts with our buildings and our safety, obviously our land. Code enforcement, site inspections, both of these areas I shared in our Q1 town hall. A lot of it is due to some of just the lack of capacity in those teams for what it is that you're seeing. And so this is one of those areas where I talk about deferred risk that we will want to take a look at as a community when it's time for us to go for our biennial. Controversial business operations, I had to phrase it that way because, as you know, there are pending lawsuits for several different cases. So I do not comment on those things, but with the controversial business operations, I will share that there is some news for one of those cases that will likely be public soon, but it's with regards to a clothing store, entertaining clothing store. Gun safety, so this is something that we did take on. We mentioned the Wear Orange Day. There's also a Be Smart program that came out of our office that works with veterans and with parents to help make sure that when a child goes to a neighbor's house, that they feel comfortable asking certain questions. It's a way in which, as a family, you can approach gun safety practices within the home. And then animal services and protection, we did have a town hall, community chat on this topic as well. I won't say it was a cordial conversation, but it did occur. And there were some things that came out of it, and there are some consequential dialogues as well that are being looked at, but certainly Animal Services does an incredible job of doing as much as they can to take care of our shelters and take care of the animals that are in the shelters and how they get adopted. So these are the programs in the community, right? So I mentioned the cabinet, and the cabinet being a success. I'm going to go through these as well, but some of these are really, really important to bring up. So successfully, we had the Stop the Spread program, which I will bring up again in the community awards section. But for Stop the Spread, this was really, how many of you all heard about the wonderful things that our healthcare workers did, our frontline, first responders, et cetera, our teachers, parents that became teachers. Well, we also had business owners that also made sure that we were safe and that invested a lot of money and resources to do the best that they could to protect us and also to supplement some of the needs in the community. So we really just appreciate that, and we wanted to acknowledge all of the companies that did help by helping stop the spread. Summer Math Challenge also happened, so you do know that there is a decline in terms of retention of information, especially with regards to mathematics during the summer. And us being in a pandemic is even more of a significant concern with regards to retaining information. And so we rolled out a Summer Math Challenge. About 60 families are currently participating in that program right now. And we're just really excited about that. Bridge to Success. This one is this is my personal story, honestly. But Bridge to Success is launching, and it is coming out of our vulnerable populations seat. And it is about, it's with Copper Source, where when there is a job, when you get employed, whether maybe you're unemployed for an extended period of time, and you get your job and you start making your salary, but you can no longer receive aid because now you're employed, and there's a gap. And when you're unemployed for a long time, you're really coming out of a really deep ditch. It's hard. And so the idea behind Bridge to Success is for companies that are a part of this program, they would commit to, if they hire someone off of this list of employable individuals, that they would commit to supplying an extra for 6 months or 12 months, $500 or $1,000 for their monthly rent. And the reason why this is important to me is because that's part of my story coming here to Cobb County. That was how my family resettled after Katrina. There was a hole, and the company decided they wanted to adopt our family. And they opened up the wallet to do that. You're looking at a $12,000 investment max. That changes the family's trajectory. That changes the kids' trajectory. It is a generational investment. Not that significant. So that's what that program is. And we have, like I said, just launched it, so we have an information session coming up. Several companies are already interested in participating in the pilot. We are grateful for that, and it is an open invitation. Veterans pods. This is in the detention center. This was also something that came up. So when our veterans go into the detention center, there are a lot of reasons why they wind up there. But there is a difference in treatment that really needs to be applied. And these are either individuals that have served us, served our country, served our communities, and many times they're facing the issues that come along with coming back into community. And so our Veterans Affairs seat identified this as a key issue, collaborated with the Sheriff's Office, collaborated with the DA's office, and helped to get different veterans pods established in our jails. Acts of kindness. I have heard of acts of kindness. Okay. So all the acts of kindness program is on a monthly basis, we highlight a nonprofit, do a volunteer activity with that nonprofit, and after the activity, we all come together and we discuss the complexity of the issue. We identify policies that we can put in place or advocate for in order to address the core issue. Very dynamic, very engaging groups. People tend to open up a lot in those sessions. We tackled domestic violence, we tackled veterans homelessness, all kinds of issues. So certainly if you're not aware of it, love to have you be a part of the Acts of Kindness program. Next thing, Master Plan Ambassadors, I referenced that earlier. So we do have the Ambassador program available. And these individuals will be helping lead that conversation in conjunction with all of our homeowners associations, civic associations, in order for you to define your community and how that fits in. Design standards, zoning, transportation, the entire vision for what you want to see in your community. Smyrna Arts community. So this has been expanded. It's been expanded after doing a few of these road shows. Marietta said, oh, that sounds like us too. And looking at what's going on with CID, yes, Adam, welcome to that. So Adam is on the committee, just FYI. It is now expanded to the Arch Triangle, which is a community that will allow you to experience all the different components of the arts communities within this area. Marietta has an arts area, Smyrna has an arts area, CID has a very nice, flourishing arts area too. So we want to connect those corners and give people an experience. And then capstone interns, we rolled out capstone interns. This is a new program that allows high schoolers, college students to come in, and they are paired with a cabinet member, and they have a week and a half to identify a project to do in the community, and then they have a little bit over a month to execute that project. And August 5th and August 6th will actually be the showcase for all of those projects. But today, we have one of our capstone interns here, Nina, come up for a second. She gets 60 seconds to tell you all what she's working on and how far it's coming. Thank you. Give it up for our capstone intern.
So hello, my name is Nina, like you said, I'm a capstone intern. So my idea was small business sustainability. So to go into small businesses, talk to small business owners and see if they can make sustainable solutions within their business. And hopefully they'll be able to advertise as a green business or hopefully a greener business in order to attract more consumers. So my progress on that is I ended up trying to contact a few small businesses and I ended up having an appointment with one, but I got stood up. So if anyone knows any small businesses willing to work with me, that'd be great. But I am able to come up with like a preliminary sustainability plan, things like just changing from one-use things to reusable. If not reusable, then move from plastic to paper. I know paper straws aren't the most comfortable, but there are definitely other ways to do it. Also, just in regards to purchasing, it's important for other small businesses to support other small businesses. So shopping local and making sure that what they purchase is environmentally friendly. Thank you.
I'm so excited about their showcase. So you'll get a chance to either help them, plug in, ask them questions, take it to task. This is their community too. So those are the programs in the community. There are a few others, but these are some of the ones that I thought certainly should be highlighted. The FAQs that came in, we have quite a few. So, what are some plans to address stormwater and erosion in our parks and communities? So one of the things that I referenced earlier was just that we're taking a holistic approach in how we look at stormwater flow, period. Because that's how we're going to get to be able to answer some of these questions. With regards to erosion in the parks, I personally am not aware of a specific plan or program, unless Director Tanks, you know of something that you've heard of in parks?
No, ma'am, you're right, so our discussion really affects the entire town, but, our parks department manages certain areas specifically within parks, but I do not know of one plan that we have to deal with. There are concerns about parks, and you think something is right, please let me know, we'll get it specific.
Thank you. Certainly give us any opinions, any data that you may know, so that you can also be a part of that solution as we build what that looks like. Thank you. How do we address CRT, and what are your feelings concerning it? I was like, wow, I just right in. So let's take a little look at it. CRT is a very specific definition of a broader conversation that is needed, absolutely needed. And what I don't want to have happen is for the conversation we need to have to be distracted by conversations that really just put us back into corners. So whatever it's called. Because what I'm asking everyone to do is to say, you know, look a little bit past what is being called, and I want you to look at what's trying to be addressed. Because this is something very important to many members of our community. And it's something that is real. There are pieces that are real. And then, unless we're willing to be courageous and address complex topics, we're just going to be in our little corners. I don't want to be in a corner, at least. So I really do encourage community members to facilitate conversations, to build those connections, to not be afraid to have discussion about things. I'm sure both parties will walk away learning something that they never thought of before, if you decide to just allow for that interaction to occur. So that's the only thing I would say, because it can be a very distracting conversation if we're not careful. What is the process of getting bus stop benches and trash barrels at stops? Hi, Drew.
Thank you. Drew Ressler with Cal Department of Transportation. So this is actually a very, very timely question. We're actually in the process of getting some consultant assistance to do an inventory of all of our bus stops, looking at which shelter or which bus stops need shelters, trash cans, benches. So we have a lot of different locations throughout the county. Each has a unique need based on the ridership and the usage. And so our goal through this process will be to really identify what those needs are and how we can look at it consistently across the entire
Thank you. And if you do have a specific request, let me know, because I will discuss it with staff as well. How do you feel about cities and movements? I promise, this keeps coming up. I wonder why. So generally speaking, I don't have any opinion either way on city and movements. And then the next question is, what about East Cobb cityhood? What about finance? What is city of finance? So for East Cobb cityhood is, again, I don't have a particular position on cityhoods. Now, the previous movement for East Cobb cityhood I was against, because I saw that there were discrepancies in the study, that the data was not accurate for people to be able to make a real decision, and that the ballot language was misleading. For those reasons alone, I was against what was proposed. I also have 3 criteria that I base, does the city make sense on? Feasibility, viability, and motivation. Pretty straightforward. If you can check all those off, well, okay, you may have a movement. Still not I may not agree per se, but it's at least a viable solution. You have a plan, there is some way to manifest it. And that's really where I stand when it comes to city movements. But for East Cobb City, I'm against the first one. I said I would hold my judgment until the next study comes out, and I will share the opinion on the second study, but I'm not anticipating anything too different, frankly. What is our mobility future, and how do we decrease traffic? And are we thinking about senior mobility? Yes, these were several questions of mine. Mobility future, so that's basically what we're asking the community to share with us through the CTP surveys, through the mobility survey that I have in circulation. Really, really looking for, what do you want to see? And what do you want, what are the primary things that you want addressed? But the other thing that I want you thinking about is not just, what do I want today, but what do you want in 30 years? Right? What do you want when we have 1 million people here? What do you want for your kids? What should you want for your grandkids? Those are the questions that you should be asking, because that's how we do these types of investments. We have to think about the long-range impact. And then not only are we thinking about what do we want for those individuals in terms of time, What about the other areas of the county? How do we stay connected to other areas of the county? Because when we don't invest in other areas, there's, I'm going to use this word again, there's deferred risk. There is deferred risk when you don't consider things up front. Are we thinking about senior mobility? Yes. Yes, we're thinking about all of it. Youth mobility, senior mobility, veteran mobility, so on and so forth. Please take the surveys, both of them. And how do we decrease traffic? Sure. I will not be able to provide that answer in this session. But certainly the goal, that is one of the goals of our mobility future, is to decrease the travel time, is to make the travel more enjoyable, is to make it more safe. All those different aspects or components to what a real mobility future looks like. What are your impressions on Z72? Will members recuse themselves? And what is the latest, I know, what is the latest on the Dobbin zoning case? For the impressions on Z72, so I have been pleased with the amount of community engagement on it, with the amount of input that has come in from the community, with the sincerity that has come in from the community, and trust me, every single piece is going into what my final decision will be. But that is where I am at this point. It's just very, very pleased with what I've seen and the different negotiations that are taking place. Will members recuse themselves? It just depends. And I will not force anyone to recuse, but certainly if there are other members that are close to this case, I'm sure that they would decide to recuse themselves. Sorry, thank you, great question. Z72 is the Josh area zoning, so there is a church that's coming in, but that's looking to come in along with
That's Johnson's very shallow.
Johnson Ferry Shallowford, yes. And it's right there on that corner. And so it's a pretty large development. There are a lot of there are townhomes involved, single family homes involved. There's a church involved, there's green space, there's stormwater issues, traffic issues. There are all kinds of things that are being looked at with regards to the Z72 zoning case. So I'm grateful for all the partners in that effort to try to sort through all of that because it is major. It is absolutely major, and would be if it goes through, it would be certainly like distinct development at that corner. What's that? It depends, and that's what the analysis, right? That's what the analysis is for. So we're, like I said, it's just been a lot of negotiations. It's been continued quite a few times. And so I've just been pleased with what I've been seeing lately in terms of the engagement and input from the community, taking every angle seriously. And what is the latest on the Dobbin zoning case? So as you know, that did get decided. And anyone that reached out to me about more details, I did share more details about what went into that decision and all the different components. However, there are certainly conversations taking place right now about a land swap, as you may have heard. And those are discussions that are still within legal realm in terms of looking at the different parameters. But do know that these are active discussions, and we are all looking for ways to remedy this particular situation. But there is a broader conversation about the overall development picture in the area and how we interact with all of that, and making sure that we are looking towards the future and how we set those standards, how we codify standards, so that we can actually empower not just myself, but future commissioners for these types of zoning cases, because they will continue to come up regardless of what happens with this case. What is the latest with the Delta variant? It is certainly uptick if you heard the update that came from, if you heard the update that came from our Department of Public Health. So we have the same statistics that we're all looking at. And, what I do encourage is if you are unvaccinated, you know, do get a vaccine, or wear a mask, or just stay, however it is, but this is something that we're seeing, this is medical, this is medical. So yes, there are some, when it comes to those with certain health issues, where there may be a specific use case to look at, but that is certainly not the case for most, like 99% of individuals. What are your impressions of the development future? Overdevelopment, Little Brazil, motivations, and single-family homes. So my impression of future development, just in general, has a lot to do with master planning activities that I am looking for the results of. That is what will drive that vision. I think the Vinings Master Plan is a wonderful example of the community coming together to determine what it is they want to see in their respective areas. And so I want to expand that model a little bit, but also replicate it around the district. Overdevelopment, I think, is something that when we do have those standards and we do have master plans and there's some codification, it will make overdevelopment it will make development more predictable, more transparent, and it'll also be easier for developers to know what to expect in particular communities as well. Little Brazil motivations, this question came in. The idea behind Little Brazil was that it's a very, very big community in the Powers Ferry area, at the corner of Powers Ferry and Terrell Mill area. That entire little section has a very large resilient community. And you can see it represented on the storefronts, on the language to some degree in some of the spots. And so the idea was just to embrace that aspect of the community and to put those, really just, embrace it and celebrate it. Single family homes. Yeah, I've been hearing there's some, I think this is why this question came in, but some rumblings about single family homes being up for debate or something. And I can tell you that is not something that is real. No one's getting rid of single family homes. And I don't know where that would have originated from, but. Okay, let me know.
Federal policy.
Okay, we can, sync up with me afterwards. Thank you. All right, on to the community awards. We made it. And then after community awards, I will be taking Q&A for anyone who wants to stay behind. All right. So I'm going to start off. John.
As I said earlier, my name is John Ingram. I'm the development director here with the Boy Scouts of America. I actually would like to call up Cecilia Pumpelli and Kes Stadler to join me on stage for this quick recognition. If you do not know, much like many things in Cobb County, scouting is incredibly strong. It is truly a powerful place of scouting throughout Metro Atlanta. There's over 80 programs throughout Cobb County, specifically in District 2, but there's over 3,000 scouts representing in that area. This year alone, we've had 33 Eagle Scouts produced so far, and over 100 just in 2020. And Cecilia represents one of those Eagle Scouts. In fact, Cecilia might be one of the first female Eagle Scouts, or she is or might be one of the first female Eagle Scouts in Cobb County as a whole. So that's incredible. So just a brief bio about Cecilia. As I said, she's a recent Eagle Scout from Female Scouts PSA Troop 2019. Her Scoutmaster, Kes Stadler, is the leader. And Cecilia served in a number of capacities, including on staff at National Youth Leadership Training, and attended the World Scout Jamboree in 2019. She's a recent graduate of Campbell High School and will be attending the University of Georgia Honors College in the fall to study economics and Spanish. Go Dogs. And outside of school and scouting, she's a student athlete and volunteers with a variety of church and public health related organizations. She hopes to use her skills learned throughout her high school years to work towards a career in public health and create more sustainable methods of disease prevention. Her Eagle Scout project consisted of building a flag retirement box and 3 portable benches for her Truist charter organization, St. Peter and St. Paul Episcopal Church. The box serves as a way for community members to properly dispose of their flags, as well as education on proper flag etiquette. The benches located near the fire pit provide much needed seating for many of the groups that meet outside, which of course is a much larger need now because of COVID. She's joined today with her mom, Virginia, her father, John, and her brother, Roman, soon to be Eagle Scout. So I want to just thank them for being here. And of course, we just wanted to recognize Cecilia for all her great efforts. So congratulations, Cecilia.
I just wanted to give you this letter of recognition and just say thank you so much for being here this evening with us. It's my Thank you. All right, next. So we actually have, before I get to the big, the physical awards here, I've got a couple more letters I want to give. Allie Tom, please come up here. Allie's one of my interns, and she has been with me for a while. All right, I want to thank you for your incredible service provided to the county. We set out to do something incredible, and that was to empower so many through the impact of providing relevant information. With you, we have been able to grow our social media reach, engagement, and other collaborative communities. Throughout your time working for our office, your work expanded beyond, as well as you also served as a mentor to the members of the communications team. As a member of the community, I hope you feel pride in the time and energy you have invested to improve the lives of so many. I am also incredibly grateful for your role in making sure our acts of kindness events are successful. You are talented and have given so much while balancing your activities as a high school student. Congratulations on your graduation. But this is just the beginning. We will miss you in our office and know you are destined for even more greatness. Jamie, your turn. Jamie, I want to thank you for your incredible service provided to the county. You helped establish a vision of bringing all communities to the table. As a result of your patience and work with our office, you have enabled our Community Advisory Cabinet, which has produced over 10 programs thus far, with a direct impact on our veterans, educators, homeless populations, families battling COVID, our newly minted entrepreneurs, so many more. Please consider this a thank you from myself and the Cobb District 2 community for working daily to make these things come to fruition and improving the lives of so many. Congratulations on your graduation. As a community, we're proud of you, your achievements, and are excited about your future. We'll miss you in our office, but know you're destined for greatness, more greatness. I just have amazing people that work with me. So grateful. So one could not be with us. Victor is also leading our cabinet, Housing and Zoning Advisory, and worked very closely with Tony as well. And really just appreciate what he's doing. He's up in DC doing amazing things as well. And when he returns, we will welcome him with open arms. So, on to girl awards. So what do we have here? First one, I have an appointee spotlight. This is to an appointee that has worked tirelessly, hours dedicated, to be able to make the best recommendations they possibly can. Tony, congratulations. Thank you for being here.
No questions about Z72. We have yet to make up our mind.
Thank you so much for your service. All right, next up, got my organizational spotlight. This organization actually worked with me before I was a commissioner. They collaborated with me on a community event where we collected books. We collected books to give to students because they have a program that they run in all of their apartment complexes. Audrey. Thank you, Starcy. Thank you for the program that you put into the community to be there to provide the after-school assistance. And thank you for being partners in getting that rental assistance money out as well. We are at 25% distributed on that front. So this is.
Thank you, what a surprise.
All right, this next one, still in the wrapper. But it's really pretty, right? So this organization did so much during the pandemic to assist the county, to work with us, to make sure that everything was still, the trains were still running, and even with the difficulties that they faced. And then when I came into office, I said, hey, I want to do a program. And they said, we will help you. And I want to say thank you to the chamber for helping us and with the Stop the Spread program as well. All right, so we have so many people in the county that do so much. And one of the things that I wanted to do is make sure that we're highlighting what the county does, because it gets lost in the weeds sometimes. So I thought of doing an agency spotlight. Now, this does not mean that when I pick an agency spotlight, it does not mean anything to the other agencies. It just means that this particular time I'm spotlighting this agency. This one, in this last quarter, worked with me on several initiatives and also helped make sure the Acts of Kindness program could be supported. I would like to say thank you to Public Services Agency. Now, one thing I will tell you is that Public Services could not do it by themselves. Every single event, I had an officer there. I just want to say thank you as well to the Public Safety Agency. Say a round of applause for them too. That's for Acts of Kindness. All right, and we have one more that's not here, so move that back. So this particular award is for either an elected official or someone who's in a leadership position that collaborates with me to execute things, to get something done. Dr. Rivera, come on up. Just want to say thank you so much. I came to you with crazy ideas.
Good, great.
And we did them. We got through almost all of them at this point, and I just really, really appreciate your patience and your willingness to give it a go and make it happen. Thank you. So that's just a taste. So this is something that I really want to do moving forward, our acknowledgements, because it's really incredible. We have an incredible community, and there's so many to thank. There's so many that should receive awards. And so we're going to get through all of those different awards as we go. But I really want to say thank you all for coming. I know I said I'm going to do the Q&A and stay after for a little bit, but I do want to make sure that our live stream knows that we are rolling down the program. And just say thank you all for coming out. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Because I can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. We have to do this together, and I rely on you. So with that, have a great evening, safe travels, and thank you again. Take care, everyone.